uh, wherever you are situated in, wherever you are placed in, and all those things have a very different, or probably a very, plays a very big role in determining what, how much you consume on a regular basis and all that. Okay, so how to establish as to what is the optimum amount of food that we consume? Like how are you going to see what is more, or how much you should be having it on a regular basis? Regular basis, I mean, like in every meal, what is the portion that you need to consume, and how are you going to establish it, and how are you going to know that what is right for you and what is not right for you? Okay, so I just want to quickly share the screen here so that we can see. So uh, yeah, how much food you should be eating, right? Just type, if you can hear me, just type yes in the comment box, because I'm just recording it from a different platform, so I just want to see it. Anyway, um, I was just testing the mic over here. Yeah, yeah, not bad. So how much food you should be eating on a daily basis? So there are multiple factors that you can use to actually determine and establish as to how much you can consume. Okay, so the number one is, let's just get into the fundamentals of it. So you need to understand the food that you eat. Okay, so a lot of people, a lot of us, we eat for the pleasure, which is okay, which is good. There's nothing wrong about it, but how much you're going to be uh, consuming is purely dependent on the taste of the food. So if you really like certain types of food, so we all form this habit. Okay, nobody is being born or being raised in a way to have all the luxuriating on the food, or on the other side it's more like staying bland or whatever. We all have this um, habit formation period through our childhood and then adolescent, and then we are being like, so you get the point. So when we are not being taught of how, what the food is of, right? What are the nutrients, what kind of a nutritious meal, what is the balance of it? So obviously our educational system doesn't teach you that, so we won't be in a position to even understand about what is good for us, what is not good for us. We think that this is tasty, and then we just go for certain things, or sometimes we even just think about these things are like healthy, and then we just go for it, and unfortunately, because of the taste, we don't see the damage or anything. We don't see the quantity, and because of the quantity there's a lot of damage. We don't see that. Because of the taste, we just tend to eat a lot more, and then eventually fall into the trap. But what people really need to understand is like, what exactly are we eating, right? In every meal, people should actually be more vigilant about what exactly this is, and what is this going to do to my body. So if you start looking at food as calories or nutrition or nutrients, it will make a very big impact as to how your lifestyle is, or how your body is, how your health is, right? So that's what I was talking about the other day. If you're looking at, if you're looking at oatmeal as oatmeal, then it's probably boring for you. But if you're looking at oatmeal as a complex carbohydrates, okay, you will just, the moment you see it, you'll be like, okay, this has got 70 to 80% of carbohydrates in every 100% of, every 100 grams of oatmeal. That means you will exactly know, or probably you will know, every bite that you take, every spoon that you take, you'll be like, okay, so I'm consuming about 80 grams of complex carbohydrates, right? So that itself will make a huge impact when you actually take, in a long run, in a 10-year time period or 15-year time period. Now people just tend to overlook at these things and just think, okay, I can move, I can walk, I can run, I'm healthy. Now if you just do a master checkup on your body, and then you will be established where you stand, where exactly you are. Okay, because it hit me like very bad, because few years ago I did a master checkup, and then somebody, not somebody, I mean the doctor himself, when I just took the report and went to the doctor, I was thinking I was all fit and fine, this and that. When I went to the doctor, he gave me a complete different picture. When I went there, or you know what he was saying? He was saying that your cholesterol level is at the par, so it's on the borderline, we might have to just pick it up. I was like, I don't think so, that's the truth, you might have to, you know what I mean? I was just trying to argue with the doctor, but unfortunately that's not the case. So So we all think that I can move. I don't have a big belly. You don't need to have a big belly to actually shoot up your cholesterol level. Now, cholesterol is not a disease, but then over cholesterol is bad. The bad cholesterol is bad. Okay. There's a difference between LDL and HDL. Okay. There's just science, but bad cholesterol, good cholesterol. So bad cholesterol is very bad, obviously, as the name suggests. So, uh, things like that we tend to overlook because we are all busy with our own things, which is not good, because only the regrets will remain later, and that is not a good side. Okay, so people need to understand about the calories, about the macros is nothing but the protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and how much calories are these things containing, so that you can just um, plan your meal in every day. So that's first, that's setting the baseline of it, and from there, if you get that right, and then probably I think you can get to the remaining part on a cleaner side, or on a better side. Okay. Yeah, understand. Next one is understanding the body. So understanding the body is nothing but you need to be. So there are like three major types of human body. Okay. So one is endomorph, ectomorph, and mesomorph. And in between, like, there are four main directions, like north, south, east, west. But there are like four sub directions, which is like, if I can say sub, I don't know if I can say that, but you get the point. So northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, something like that. So this is like endo, ecto, meso, which is somewhere. And so what happens to the ectomorph is like very thin, very lean frame, very small frame, body structure, and all that. Mesomorph is somewhere in the medium. They are pretty much genetically blessed because they put on muscle, which is good, but they don't tend to put on a lot of fat, and all that. Endomorph is like on the higher side. People who just people who even drink water, they would just get fat. So you might have come across people like that. They have a very large frame, and they need to really work hard in terms of your physical fitness, or just to be even healthy, like on the borderline. They need to be really working hard. They need to have like a lot of calorie restrictions, which is like a lot of hard work. But unfortunately, that's the case, right? It's predetermined by the genetics. But it doesn't necessarily have to be always difficult, because once you make it a part of you, and that's totally okay. So you get the point. That's how it's supposed to work. So coming to the sub categories, or sub, you know will be more like endo, I mean, mesoecto and mesoendo, right? Excuse me for that. Okay, so this is like, so obviously you won't be able to just see if you're somewhere falling somewhere in between, but I want you to just pick up on these endomorph, ectomorph, and then mesomorph, because with that you will be able to really see where exactly you fall, and from there we can just take it forward. Right now, what I want you to do, I want you to ignore both of this, ecto, meso, and mesoendo. I want you to just ignore that and just look at where exactly you fall. From there, you can actually make just tweaks, or anything like that. So that's the first thing what I want you to see. The next one is like, what is the requirement? So how exactly you're going to be performing, or not performing, I mean operating your day, right? Do you have a lot of traveling? Do you have a lot of sitting? You have a lot of, so based on that, you need to be seeing, a person who is um, sitting for 10 hours a day cannot have three times like heavy carbohydrate. For example, rice we all eat. So that's one thing that people need to avoid. Okay, so if people are traveling, let's say they're traveling for more than um, 6 hours, for people like that, they need to have a bit of carbohydrates, because they need a lot of energy. They need to move on, they need to push. Okay, so for that they need a lot of energy. For that, the carbohydrates are probably the best source. But it's still going to be the, not just about carbohydrates, but still the body type is going to be the determining factor as to how healthy they are, like not just by the looks, but then it's in terms of the blood sugar levels, or whatever it is. Okay, so you need to understand the requirement based on your lifestyle, and then from there you can just take things up. Another one is metabolism. Metabolism is nothing but the energy, the calorie expenditure, the energy expenditure. So how much calories are going to be burning in any given function. Like, let's say that if you're running, somebody might be burning, let's say 100, but at the same time, another person at the same amount of running, the same speed, they'd be burning about 120 or 150 or 20, just 50. You know what I mean? So all these things are like purely based on the type amount of muscle that anybody is having it, and then how up the metabolism is. Like, so if a person, like I said, if a person is like continuously sitting for 10 to 12 hours a day, and then you come back home, I've worked 10 hours a day, and then you come home and then again you sit for like 4 hours on the couch and watching TV. So this is putting up a lot of effort on your heart, indirectly. So there's the person is not much of mobile. Okay. The person is like very much moving, and the metabolism really takes a crash, and then just drops down from it. It's very difficult for them to burn fat because they're like very much sedentary throughout the day, and then they go to sleep about 8 hours. Some people even sleep 10 hours, and I just don't get it why. So these are the determining factors, these are the contributing factors as to how good a person is in terms of their health. Okay. So metabolism, again, another one is like the sensitivity of the carbohydrates and insulin. But if for the beginners, it would be very hard for anybody to even just um, anybody to even establish if they are sensitive, like insulin sensitive, or a carbohydrate sensitive. But it's going to take a while. But can you do that? But yes, over the period you can do it, but you need to be closely monitoring the food that you consume and how your body is actually reacting towards it. So I have put all these things in, and like in a much detailed format in my course, in my coaching system. So I'm just giving you the surface level of it. So how you need to be taking this whole approach is like every week, okay, 6 to 7 days. What you need to do is like you need to eat a specific amount of food, specific quality of food, and you need to be seeing it. You need to be monitoring it every morning. That's when the glucose is down, when the sugar is like really down. You need to monitor it, and you see, okay, how your body is looking like every time when you wake up. And throughout the day you need to be consuming the food, and then you need to see when you're going to the bed how your body is looking like. So from there you can see, okay, if the food is actually working or not. But it would be really difficult, like I said, in the initial stages it would be really difficult, but eventually they would be able to see it if there is any changes that is happening. So when I perform certain exercise, or perform certain types of diet, like if I follow certain types of things, I can see the difference every day. So from that I'll be able to move on, because I mean I've been through that, so kind of like I have that experience. So from that I'll be able to establish as to, okay, so this thing is working or not. Okay. I just saw this one. Yeah, so that's exactly where I want you to be. uh, just to even understand about your body and how that is, your body is actually reacting to the type of food or the type of changes that you make. Okay. Again, your body should not hit the plateau, because if it is hitting the plateau, that means your body got used to it, it's got adapted towards it, and now you need to improvise your strategy, or the food, or how you take things forward. So again, it's just kind of like, if you want to see the this difference, you need to go long distance with tweaking all the time, improving, like continuous improvement. From there you'll be able to see that. So that's pretty much it with the carbs. I mean, it's just a pretty much the same, the carbohydrates and insulin, because the moment you ingest the carbohydrates, more like glucose, the moment glucose hits the blood cells, the insulin is being released by the pancreas. So that's how the science goes. Now, another one is the physically active is another contributing factor. So if you're like I said, if you're a person who drives a lot, who goes through a lot, who's got a lot of physical, if you're obviously, if there is a personal trainer, he'd be eating a lot more, or he'd be eating different types of food when it comes to that, because it needs to suit the lifestyle. But what I have seen is most people, I mean, more of my clients, they say that they eat. So, if I just even have to take a look at how much they eat like they're moving mountains. Okay. And that's like a very sedentary lifestyle. For a person who is sitting more than 10 hours a day and eating like that, it's suicidal. So, unfortunately, we don't understand the seriousness of it. We just don't, we tend to neglect it. I wouldn't say it's a sign of arrogance or whatever. I wouldn't go that far, but it's more like taking things for granted. That's what I would say, because oh, okay, I still have my body, so I can just do whatever I want and I don't look fat, so I'm cool. That's not the approach that we need to be taking. And I want people to be more vigilant about it. You know, take good care of everything that we eat. Uh, really using the less remote when you want to change a TV channel. You get the idea. So be more active, be more moving. Our bodies built for moving. Not it's not a tree, right? So that's what it is. Okay. Another one is like the important concept of understanding your lifestyle. Now, how much a person is actually eating outside, how much is actually cooking. Cooking, when it comes to cooking, there's like way. So there was a research that is being done, and if a person who is constantly cooking and eating at home is consuming way less calories compared to a person who's constantly eating outside. When somebody eats at a restaurant, so let me just give it this to you straight. If a person is constantly eating outside, right, that means that could possibly be a restaurants or the hotels. This is obvious. So restaurants or the hotels, I don't want a bad mouth. Okay, this is not what that is. I'm just getting you the picture, they're getting your reality. Now, if a person is constantly eating outside, restaurants, they would always give you the food as delicious as possible. Okay, so because they don't want any customers of their customers to actually hate the restaurant because the food is actually bad or the food is actually tasting bad. Okay, that's on the surface level. If you actually go a little deeper level, they would do things for you to come back again, right? Pure business. That's it's given. It's not a blame game. I'm not talking about the blame game over here. It's very straight. So I don't want to go to a restaurant where the food tastes bad. Now, if a food is tasting really delicious, that means it's not healthy. This is given. If a food is really delicious and really tasty, it is not good for health. It's just given. It's just given. It's the underlying factor of uh, the health aspect in itself. Yeah. So if that is the approach that people are taking, then they might have to cut it down, because obviously, you know, people who go to the restaurant is ingesting way more empty calories, and this is not even like healthy calories. It's like very empty calories for your body. Your body doesn't even need so much of calories to even function. So you get the idea, right? So what I want is like try as much as possible to cook at home, because it forms a lot of discipline. Okay, don't ask anybody to cook. I mean, if you even if you have a maid, I would say, you know, do the cooking part by yourself, because it is something that you're putting into your body. Okay, so don't let anybody else decide as to what needs to go into your body, regardless of how much you tell them, or they wouldn't understand your nutritional requirements. So you need to understand your nutritional requirements of so many. I don't want you to be going into the calorie counting and all that, like counting your calories and so much of grams or so much of grams or so much. You know what I mean? I don't want you to go into that. But what I want you to do is just start cooking yourself. It forms a lot of discipline. You can be creative. It doesn't necessarily have to be boring. You know, leave the rest of the activities to them. I mean, rest of the activity to others, but don't let somebody else decide as to what is going on into your thing, into your system. So you get the point. I mean, these are like very tiny things where people can make the improvements. And then as a whole, if you just see the cause of the compound is the eighth wonder of the world, you know, the compound effect is the eighth wonder of the world. That's how I look at compound. It's going to make a lot of difference um, when you take a 10-year time period or 20 years or whatever. Okay. So yeah, cooking, avoid eating out. Another one is the availability. So the more food that you have, or even at your home or even at your workplace, you know, I've seen people finishing up their breakfast, coming back to the floor. I'm just seeing it as I say it, coming back to the floor, and then, you know, take a couple of cookies and start eating it. They just go, they finish their breakfast to the brim, and they come to the floor and take a couple of cookies. I've done it. Not the cookies, I have not done the cookies, but then coffee, a lot of milk, sugar, coffee. It's available there. So a brain tends to actually go into it, just get so much attracted towards it, and we just kind of go there. You don't need a tea or a coffee. I've seen people who come to. So I was working at this company, so I usually log in at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? I need a coffee. That's how I start my day. I mean, not throughout, but I still have my time where I tend to slack off, tend to just go overboard, but at the same time I just stay in my discipline. It still depends. But I've seen there are a lot of people who constantly start their day with a tea or a coffee. That's the first thing that you're taking. That means like your sugar level is through the roof, my friends. Yeah, and it's not just about that. They give the coffee from the counter. They put in a lot more sugar in it. I mean, just don't get it. I just don't get it because your brain is like constantly asking for your more. Just give me more. Just give me more. But you need so much to function. You don't even need so much, and that is probably one of the biggest barrier for people to actually just get away from. Derail from that particular pattern because it's they're finding it really difficult because the clock ticks 5 and they need the fix. That's why it's more addictive than cocaine. Okay, just because it is legal, just because it's there, just because it's politically correct, you know, doesn't mean that you gotta go eat. Just because the food is available doesn't mean that you gotta go eat. Just because it's free doesn't mean that you need to take it. Okay, so just think about that. And uh, also on the other side of the like the cookies or anything that's just kept there, unless it is natural, don't go for it. Okay, so that's the availability. And the water consumption, people are like very much dehydrated, and just because they are sitting in a cold place or the cold place, they tend to be less likely to be thirsty. So again, there is a lot of um, the more water that you drink, the more calories that you burn. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you can just keep gulping it all the time, but again, you need to have a limit. But 4 to 5 liters a day, it's a good amount. People don't do that. Number one, this could be even lazy, because it's boring. It could be lazy, boring. It could be other factors as to why they don't drink, they can't drink water. But I would say water consumption is like very less when it comes to compared to the other things, and then a lot of people even have the kidney issues and all that. So that's again something that we need to look at. Rest, rest. I mean sleep, especially. Very less sleep. People are on the phone, so the less amount of rest that you have, if your body is not rested properly, if your body doesn't have enough sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours, not necessarily 6 to 8 hours. I mean, it's all been determined by people, but then you need to see what works best for you. Even if you have 5 hours of a proper quality sleep, which is good, uninterrupted sleep, which is great. Okay, but make sure that you don't underrate the sleep, and then just get it on priority. And yeah, if you don't have enough amount of sleep, the stress hormone, there's another hormone called as cortisol. The cortisol kicks in, and then again you just tend to um, conserve the fat, a lot more fat than you're supposed to burn. Okay, so rest is something that you need to be taking. Another one is the sedentary. So all of this mostly is just leading to the sedentary lifestyle, sitting for more than 10 hours at work. Commuting is about average 3 hours, at least in the place that I live, which is I'm going live from Bangalore. So it's crazy, because of the traffic and things like that. So that's 3 hours a day. So 3 plus 10 is like 13 hours. Plus you come home and obviously sit on the couch or you sit on the laptop or the TV work. So heavily sedentary, and that's just suicidal. Okay. Um, you're not burning much. This is not, you're not doing yourself a good favor. So if I can put it that way. Okay, so let's just get down to the actual question as to how much food is too much food. Okay, uh, when you ingest certain types of food, you get high. We are not knowing it consciously. We can't get it because we got so used to it, and we kind of losing the potency of understanding it. Okay, so you get a high from sugar. So you need to stop that if you're having it, because Like I said, in the availability when when people have the free coffee or tea next to them, they kind of go and have it. That's not a good sign. Just the way it is, uh, when they eat certain types of food, they're kind of addicted to that, and they need it every time when the clock sticks at that point. They kind of need it, and nothing can stop them. Those are like, it's a direct sign of addiction, but we tend to overlook at it or neglect it or anything like that. So again, fool some people. I mean, we all been raised in a way where, they say, it's a funny saying where the bigger the belly that you have, it's a sign of prosperity. You see what I'm saying, right? I mean, just cracks me up every time. So don't listen to that. I mean, times have changed. You need to buckle up, because the life expectancy is like reducing because of practices. I mean, decades ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, we had a hard physical labor, which is not the case right now. Okay, 80% of our life we are sitting and just on the laptop or on the computers or on the TV. So there's no thing. And moreover, so on top of that, we get a special feeling when you eat a lot more, when you have that full stomach um, feeling. That's not good, because again, we are addicted to that. We need that a lot more, more. Why? Right? Eat more. People just say, they have funny sayings like, I eat a little more, it's okay, it's good, it's just eat a little more, I can just go for 50 minutes of walk in the next morning. Suicidal. Now, how much calories? This is on an optimum, not optimum, I mean, this is on an average level. Okay, this is not applicable for a person who is on sedentary, which is on one extreme, and this is not applicable for a person who is on athlete, which is on the other extreme. So these things are like extreme. So this is not applicable, but this is very much applicable for the person who is on the middle, who have an average amount of physical activity, and average amount of sedentary lifestyle. So in concoction to that, I have put this figure. Okay, so it would be for men who are like 30 to 50, it is about, like, if they're active, like super active, they need to be anywhere from 2500 to 2700 calories. But it's not just about 2700 calories, it is also about breaking this down. Exactly how you're going to do it. Let's say if you're having 5 meals a day, 500 calories per meal just works great. And if you're physically active, it's just super good. This is for maintenance. Okay, if a person is having um, like a sitting a lot more, when, you know what I mean, like if more on the sedentary side, that has to be for 200 to 2300. I mean, 22 to 2300. Okay, so just reduce a bit. So this is also, this is the same calculation that you should be having even when you're cutting down. You need to be playing around with it, but you get the idea, right? For women, again, active side, it should be 2000 to 2200. Inactive side, 1700 to 1800. I've seen, let me tell you something. I've seen people eating pasta um, with potato chips next to that for the crunchy effect. And I'm not sure if it is a Coke. I'm not sure if it's a Coke, but they have a drink along with it. Now, that one meal is clearly giving you 1200 calories straight. Okay, so just imagine the damage that we are doing to ourselves in a long run, just because we are tempted to it, just because we got used to it, just because we are habituated towards it. Look at the damage, right? And that is something that we need to buckle up on. Yeah, so this is again, uh, it's only for people who are like active, not on the higher side, not a pro athlete. Okay, inactive, not 20 hours of sitting and sleeping and all that. It's not on the extreme side, but it's somewhere on the middle. For them, if they're active for certain times of period, and then, so this is the amount that they can have. So that's pretty much it with the calorie intake. Now, what are the things that you cannot do, you shouldn't do probably, right? um, People tend to go on the extreme restriction of nutrition when it comes to certain types of nutrients. They go, some people even just get into keto. I mean, for a typical Indian, if they're going on to keto, the next couple of days they'll be having a warfare in their mind. Okay, it's like literally a warfare in their mind. Okay, they will not be able to operate. Okay, these things, it's not just about the diet. Some people just don't get the diet on a whole side because they tend to, so that's how it works. You cannot be decisive, you cannot be strong in other areas of your life. There's a lot of areas where you just slip out, where you derail, you won't be able to operate in your regular pattern. I've had issues, like I've had psychological issues. I used to get even short tempered when it comes to certain things. On my second day, on my third day, when I cut out certain types of food, it just hits me on a different level. I'll be getting angry and all that, due to which I've had bad relationships at work. I mean, these things are like not good. I mean, that's what people tend to do it. So all these things I have in my coaching system, I have detailed this like in depth, so a person can actually get like um, extreme clarity on what they're supposed to have and what they're not supposed to have it, like all like customized thing. Okay, so that's with the extreme calorie restriction. That's something that you should not do it. Again, low carb or no carb, it's mostly on the keto diet, where you're like, yeah, you'll be able to do it. But every time when a person is actually getting onto a new type of diet, they'll be all hyped up, they'll be all like super energetic and this and that, which is great. They go to sleep, they wake up in the next morning, they tend to go back to whatever they were doing. So what happened to all the motivation and all the positivity and all that? That's all just gone, right? And that's not the case how your approach should be towards any diet. So anytime if a person is actually trying to adapt themselves to something better, they first thing they need to see is like, can I, this is the first question they need to see. Can I, you know, do this for the rest of my life? If they can't, they have to not shut it down, but they need to make tweaks. Okay, so you need to have a very structured and step-by-step approach as to how they will be able to proceed, so that they get to a point after a few months, and from there they can keep that up for the rest of their life. And that is how a smart diet program or the lifestyle should be. The whole lifestyle should be, squeezing about 30 to 40 minutes of workout, uh, 10 to 20 minutes of cooking. You get the point. So this is something that people need to devote like consciously on an everyday basis. If they have 2 hours, take 2 hours away from your everything else, just to even take care of yourself. And that's not too much. Your body is not asking too much of you, right? So these are the things that people need to be consciously doing it, but they don't. Unfortunately, they just say, okay, carbs are bad, and they cut down on the carbs and they go for like 2 days, 3 days, and then they won't be able to keep it. What is the fat sources like ketos, keto diet? What is the fat sources? It won't be possible to keep it for the rest of their life. And especially when somebody is like, chicken is your favorite, chicken biryani is your favorite, and people look at somebody in the opposite and sitting in front of them and just gorging in some chicken biryani, and on the other side they'll be like having cheese and butter. Forget about it. It's not going to work out. Okay, you need to be more practical as to how you can incorporate certain types of diet is a cliche word. It's been thrown around. It's so, it's been thrown around a lot and just gets so cliche, but it's not a diet. It is a lifestyle that you need to change it. You need to adapt. Okay, so that you'll be able to keep it for the rest of your life. This is a due. Taking care of your body is a due that you need to pay for the rest of your life. Point simple, point blank. There's no rocket science. Okay, this is why majority of the people fall off the wagon, because they won't be able to match up with their lifestyle. That's exactly why it is. You need to see what type of food is available, what type of food you can adjust to, what type of food that you can continue for the rest of your life. Now that is something that we need to consciously do it, and then plan it, and then have to make the right approach. Otherwise it's going to fall off regardless of what. Okay, so yeah, again, inconsistency, like I said, it's like taking it for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, few months, falling off. It's not going to work out. Okay, timing irregularities, because they tend to constantly miss out on their timing. They're supposed to have a meal at 10, they didn't have it. They had a meeting, they had something else, they had to watch a movie. a meal is being missed, they get hungry, and then they don't necessarily eat the food they're supposed to eat. Instead, they just go for junk food or anything which is not good, because your brain is actually asking for it more. Okay, so it just falls, man. I mean, without planning, failing to plan is planning to fail. Very simple but very profound and powerful line. Okay, write it down. This can help you. Okay, anyway, so when a person is actually starting off with any of these things, self-care, first thing they need to see is they need to establish a baseline as to where they are going to look at, how they're going to be in let's say a month from now, 3 months from now. Okay, they need to have that. They need to like visualize it, and certain things, certain factors has to get into the subconscious level. So from there, if you operate from that kind of point, the game is on a whole new level. And that's where people say no to 95% of the things, because they're focused on something like that. Okay, so understanding the food and what is the ratio and how much is the portion. This, if people get this right, okay, if people get this right, then they don't even have to worry about it. They don't even have to worry about high cholesterol or bad cholesterol. They don't have to worry about overweight. Forget about it. You can live your life so much easier with just understanding these two parameters. What's the ratio? Ratio is nothing but um, the macronutrients, the proteins, fats, and carbs, how, in what proportion you're going to have it. So if you have 5 meals, if you have 6 meals, if you're consuming 6 meals, or if you're having 5 meals, how you're going to have it. So if you take it in a pie, okay, there's a round in a pie that's like 50% of X, 30% of Y, 20% of Z, like that. So whatever is working the best for you, you need to have it, like 50% of protein, 30%. I wouldn't say 50% of protein. It's obviously a lot more, but you need to see which one works best for you. But if you just come into my coaching system, I have like, so you'll be able to get an idea as to how much you really require from that, because I'm giving you an idea about the whole. I'm going to open to a whole different level. Okay, you're going to be having a very different view about looking at your body, or looking at your lifestyle, or looking at your nutrition, or anything of that sort. It's just like a whole new level. So yeah, again, portion. So you should not necessarily stick to one amount of portion throughout the year, but you need to be constantly changing. Well, not constantly changing, but I would say 3 months is a time for you to change. Some people want to put on weight. Okay, some people want to drop off. So in that, how exactly you're going to be taken care of is like more of changing your portion every 3 months. 3 months is an advisable time period, so that you're giving enough time for your body to actually get adapted, adjusted. So you're not also giving that amount of time to improvise on it. You should not, because once you start improvising, that means you hit a plateau. So you should not give that point. Start changing. Every 3 months is a good time period to change. So as a portion, so ratio and portion is like very, very important. Once you get this right, you will look at your plate. So I believe all of us, we eat in a round shaped plate. Okay, unless it's a restaurant, and unless you're having a dessert on a square plate. So you get the point. So look at that plate as a pie, and look at that what you put in it as a portion. So that's how you need to plan it. So start looking at your food like with the name of it. Don't do that. Start looking at your food in a more of like a nutrient base. So you'll have the way you consume, the way you eat is like totally different when it comes to other people. This is what 95% of the people miss out. Okay, that's why the obesity is rising in India. Very simple, just given. Okay, so wow, we've covered pretty much a lot of topics. So how many of you found this valuable? A lot more valuable, yeah. So I'm getting a lot of questions on this as to how you can approach certain things and all that. So I'm just I'm just consolidating all the questions, and whichever is more thicker, that means the more number of questions that I get, I'm trying to develop the content and then I want to put it. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, so that you won't find it. I don't want to give too much of science. That's not the way that I want to operate. If I just talk about a lot of protein and carbohydrates and muscle protein synthesis, it's going to hit you, and you're not going to, the chances of you taking action on this is like very less likely. So I'm just trying to break it down and just give it as simple as possible so that you can actually incorporate that in your lifestyle and make changes. So guys, I want you to take care, okay? Because this lifestyle is pretty bad. Okay, let's all agree on it. I don't mean to be all negative here. That's not my intent, but I would say it takes really very less amount of time, just 40 minutes to 60 minutes to actually take care of yourself, having good food and good amount of physical activity. Just keep your mind strong, keep your body strong. So this is going to pay off in the long run. It's really good to be on the bed than going to work. It feels so good to be on the chair watching on the social media than to even just go to the kitchen and start cooking. Okay, but do the hard things so it will pay off. May not be today, but definitely tomorrow. With that said, want to sign off. Catch you on the next time. Bye bye.